Hello, Cosplay. This is my, my 22nd rant? Yes, 22nd rant. And this week we're talking about binding things together. And next on the list would be threads. Now we're talking about several kinds of threads, or sewing, or string, or what have you. So I'm going to come in mostly the kind of thread that most people use. Now, you say, knives? I mean, you don't sew that much. You don't work with materials. You don't have the hands-on skill to be talking about this. You must be a douchebag. Well, I say unto you, no! I have quite a vast array of technical skill, even though I don't sew quite as much. I live with someone who sews quite a lot, and I also watch and learn from her. And I do a lot of my sewing by hand, and I do know at least the description of each kind of thread. There's several kinds of thread. The most common kind of thread you will find, as I get into my rant, is the polyester cotton thread. Okay, now polyester, you use quite a lot. You have texture polyester, you have, spun polyester, several filament polyester with many filament. Anyway, you'll find this kind of, then this one is 37% cotton and 63% polyester. Polyester is stronger than cotton, but cotton is softer, prettier, something or another. It works with a lot more fabrics. It's based on the appearance. That's why they have cotton in there. And different materials dye differently. Polyester is color fast. Cotton works differently in your technical terms. Anyway, that's what you'll see about them. Let's see. Plain cotton is not as strong. It, however, blends in, some people think, better than other threads with cotton. So you have cotton material, cotton thread, and they dye about the same. They look about the same. They blend in better. Okay. Now, that being said, a very strong kind of thread would be nylon thread. That's what I use a lot of. I happen to favor strength over being exactly the same color because I sew in places that aren't very noticeable, and I tend to use black. Anyway, so I don't really go into a lot of detail, but still, I at least know about all these things. I just choose to ignore them. Anyway, nylon thread doesn't come in quite as many colors as the polyester or cotton. Okay, maybe way less colors, I should say, but it works for me. Now you have also monofilament. It's also called the invisible. It's called invisible thread, things like that. It's can be stretchy. I usually substitute that out for fishing line because fishing line is monofilament. Yep, monofilament. At least this stuff is. I can't say every single fishing line is the same. Anyway, and this is much cheaper than monofilament stuff. Of course, it's stretchy, so you'll have to take that into account when sewing. What else is it? This does stretch. Yes, I should say it. This does stretch. Or it elongates. It's not something you want to use for puppeteering. You want to use actual thin gauge wire that's flexible than this for puppeteering, if that has come to your mind. I've tried it before and it didn't work out so well. Just my experience gone on to you. Now, you should be aware that plastic-based threads are sensitive to heat. You have to be aware of that. Say you're running an iron over it and your threads melt. Cotton will take that better. Of course, cotton burns. Polyester takes that even better, I believe. Yes, and it's also polyester is more resilient to UV rays. So that's probably not going to be a huge issue with costumes because you don't wear them constantly. But over the years, color loss and washing it over and over again, blah blah blah. Let's see. I covered it. Was it? I think. Oh, silk thread. Silk thread is, well, it's really soft. It's got a very nice sheen, but it's very sensitive. It's harder to work with, I would say, and it's more expensive, of course, because it's silk. You have to choose your thread weight carefully with this stuff. If it's too thin, obviously it's going to not hold together. If it's too heavy, it sticks out like a sore thumb because it's silk. Especially when you're using it with other materials, because it's when you get to you'll know the difference. This is not silk, but imagine like this on top of that. You kind of noticeable. And much of the time, you don't want your thread to be popping out of your fabric. You want it to be blending in and doing its job and not being noticeable. Except for decorative stuff, blah blah blah. Of course, decorative stuff you want people to see. Okay, what else? I think there's like rayon. Rayon. Yeah, see rayon. You see rayon fabric. There is, of course, rayon thread. It's really fragile. It'll snap pretty easy. I don't really use this stuff. It has no stretch. Okay, these I think I've said this before. Hopefully, even cotton has a certain amount of stretch because it's a woven fiber. Polyester kind of does. Oh well, I've gone on a stretch. Stretch is kind of important for the longevity of your work. That's all additive that it's better to bend than to break, and so on and so forth. Especially with fabrics, because they're going to be bending. You don't want them to break. Oh well. Now you can sew just fine. You can take the idea and the concept of sewing and altering with other materials. You don't have to use fabric to sew. Like I said, I was sewing floor vinyl with fishing line and using the same concept of distributing the load over the seam. And the trick is to pick the amount of holes, I should say, and I forget the technical term for the spacing of the threads, in a way that allows the most stress to be delivered to each fabric evenly, without putting so many holes that it just kind of rips through all of them. Right, this comes up when you're working really with really say more of the stretchy materials, and you'll say fabric isn't stretchy. Well, it kind of, even yeah, it kind of is. And you'll end up with fraying and bunching and wrinkling and things like that, and that's something you don't want to deal with. As for using this thread with the machine and adjusting the tension, the length, and the weight of the thread, you'll have to go in your machine and read the manual for that, because each machine is different and they have their own recommendations. There is a thread weight. That is the thickness of the thickness of the thread. Lightweight stuff is usually for decorative bits. Heavyweight stuff is, thicker, so it works more, has a harder load, but it's more noticeable when you're sewing. So you have to do your balance. And when you're going to costume competitions, the judges are keenly aware of this. Never mind. Anyway, you want to use other threads in the same way. Hand stitching is not something to be afraid of. It is sometimes necessary, especially with decorative bits. And you just need a steady hand, and you can, with enough patience, do just as high quality work as a machine. And this also accounts for when you're sewing with heavier materials. Like you may not have a machine that can take jeans. Yeah, jeans are usually the harder material to sew through. Machines kind of struggle through that. If you're buying a machine, I would recommend maybe a Brother or a Singer. If you got anything lower than that, or a non-brand name, you're kind of I'm not gonna say wasting your money, but it's a bit of luck, okay? As to whether it's quality or not. I don't know. These are, you can sew with all of these materials the same way. You just need a big, heavier needle if you're using a needle. You can sew with sheet material like, what is it? MDF. You just drill your pilot holes. You can use it in the same way. Hinges aren't always the best choice. Hinges only bend in one direction, and if you need something to slide about in a more fluid way, you might want to consider sewing, or this is all hand sewing, so I'm going to say sewing. So think outside the box here, guys. Awesome. Anyway, I went over the kinds of thread. You can go through, what is it? Twine, string, all of those things, and they have their own benefits and drawbacks, such as thickness and twine is usually easy to break. Having materials, noticeability, color. You can dye some twines and some strings and things like that yourself. If you want a custom color, if you're going to custom look, that's more specialty stuff. I'm going to go just the basics here. Let's see. You'll have to remember that different sewing machines take different kinds of spools of thread. This is your standard thread. I don't have a serger spool. Oh, well, it's bigger. It looks completely different. So don't go make sure the thread you buy is for the machine you intended to use it on. Okay? I think this covers a lot of thread, string, things like that. I'm pretty sure you figure out how to thread a needle and string stuff through. That's no big deal. And there's always a ton of videos on how to sew. I'm not going to go into that. People know it better than I do. And we'll be able to better illustrate it than I. So I'm going to end this rant. This is Nice Cosplay number 22. Thread and string and twine and things like that. And always, I want you to remember that I want to know what you want to know. Comments and such are great things to know. Okay, wait, never mind. Anyway. I'm sure you've seen more videos like this. If not, go view those other videos and you'll see my end rant of leave me comments and so on and so forth. If you're asking me questions, leave the questions on YouTube and here. That way I can answer your questions and future questions and so on and so forth. Thanks for watching. This has been Knives. Good times to all.